Good to go, Matt.
Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What is up, Lock Shoppers? It's Friday. You know what that means. NFL best bets and partner parlays here on the Lock Shop. What's going on? Andrew Patterson taking over for the big man today as Dusty, the hardest working man in show business, is on his way to Calgary to call a CFL game tonight, then getting back to Edmonton to call another one tomorrow. So I am joined by the very capable, dynamic duo of Pat Gregoire and Jake Bolin Moss from Coolbet Canada. JBM, Patty, what's up?
Doing good, Huss, man. It's nice. This reminds me of some of the Coolbet live streams that we used to do for golf and some season previews. It's a first. It's a Lock Shop first. No Dustin, but we've had him not before. But I do believe I can confirm. Sources tell me this is the first time he's actually been able to listen to the show live. He's on the road and he's listening in. So we got to be on our best behavior.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't know if Patty and I have ever been on an episode of the Lock Shop together. I don't know if that's ever happened. So this might be a first time in history for the Lock Shop.
This could be quite a tag team effect coming in from the Coolbet HQ today, folks. Of course, a huge thanks to our friends at Coolbet for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk, Edmonton Sports Talk, and the Lock Shop. If you haven't already played at Coolbet, what are you waiting for? Join us this weekend, and if you use the promo code LOCKSHOP, we'll hook you up with a 100% bonus up to $200 on that first deposit. Guys, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to getting into these NFL picks. I do have Dusty's best bets as well. We'll kick around some ideas for a partner parlay and a couple things to throw up at the Coolbet exclusives. But before we get into the weekend's festivities, shout out to the Chiefs. Good teams win. Great teams cover. Shout out to Harrison Butker, Mr. Prime Time last night. And maybe Mr. Prime Time is one Pat Gregoire, because, Patty, you did it again. Field goals. I mean, we just keep riding that field goal bet, and it'll be interesting to see where we stand at the end of the season on these primetime games. But, man, I was worried about the field goals. But, man, when he kicked that 60-yarder that could have been from about 75, and then obviously came through at a 52-yarder to cover the spread late in the game. It was a big night for fans of field goals, and it was certainly a big night for people that were riding with you.
Yeah, the primetime parlay got back in the winning column. I think maybe last week or a week and a half ago, whatever it may be. We were on a 2-game run, and then we hit a skid, 2 losses in a row. So back in the winning column, we had Pacheco over combined yards for rushing and receiving at 90, the field goals, obviously, and then the Chris Jones sack. So that cashed easy, but had Pacheco over 12.5 receiving yards, Wilson under, I think it was 225. That cash was like relative ease. The guy had 94, 95 passing yards. Like, he didn't even hit triple digits, man. That Broncos team is so bad. Then we had our teas that Dusty and I talked about, KC 6.5, and then the under 53.5. And then my best bet for hockey didn't cash. It was also your best bet with the Sabres. That was a disappointing start for our friends down in Buffalo. But my second favorite bet of the night, the Red Wings on the puck line, an absolute chicken of a bet, took the goal and a half, but it worked. The Red Wings kept it close against a good Devils team. I don't think the Red Wings are making the playoffs. I know we're not going to talk much hockey here, but I think they're going to be a team that I might be supporting financially to keep games close. And I think they're going to be much improved than they were last year.
Well, while we're talking hockey quickly, I always like checking in on Jake's state of mind. I was thinking, I was in Calgary with a friend, and of course it was a real late game for the Jets and Flames. So we were at a bar watching the Montreal-Toronto game, and that was such a roller coaster. I figured you were probably out on the team for the season at least twice during the game. But Austin Matthews, comes in and saves the day. They get the 2 points. How are you feeling about the squad? And I guess the biggest, I mean, listen, it's front page news on Sportsnet. The biggest story in hockey, the Leafs' new goal song.
Yeah, honestly, we took a positivity pact at the start of the season. Pat, Shane, another one of our cool guys, and myself. So I was trying to be positive. First period wasn't great. My dad was texting me. He was already ruling out. He said the season's over. It's a new, he said new season, same team. And I was like, okay, great. So I know where I get it from. And then the second period obviously was a lot better. They came back, and then they start to blow it in the third. And like, what a roller coaster to get a season opener like that. But, you just got to be happy to get your 2 points and, you move on to Saturday. But yeah, I was, probably could have used a live cam on me. I was screaming into pillows and stuff like that. Trying not to disrupt the neighbors here in the condo for game one. So
yeah, listen, if we want to, spike the numbers on the CoolBet socials, we probably should just have you mic'd up and a live cam throughout some of these games, and the entertainment value would be high. Of course, we'll have lots of time next week to get into hockey, but it's great to have it back. Shout out to Winnipeggers and WSTers. We'll see you tomorrow with the Jets home opener, 3 p.m. against the Florida Panthers. As I mentioned, I had a great time in Calgary. Team played awesome. Just didn't win the damn game. So we'll see what happens. It's been a big week around the Jets. But let's get to the NFL, and we will quickly touch on last night's game. And my partner, Dustin Nielsen, has weighed in from the car and asked if we should discuss the Chiefs being a schedule fraud. Now, he's trying to trigger me. He's obviously trying to trigger me right off the bat. And yes, he does have that bogus victory over the Chiefs in week 1 for the Lions, which, hey, Kadarius Toney actually caught one last night and got in, so I shouldn't get on him too much, but we all remember that game. And wouldn't it be nice to see those two teams play again later on? 49ers are going to probably have something to say about that. But listen, this is an all-time typical Chiefs game against a terrible team. They just simply don't blow teams out almost ever. If they do, it's against a team that you expect much more from. And I'll give Denver credit, which I didn't think I'd be doing today. Their defense, which has been so brutal this season, I think they sort of realized we're going to do a couple things. We're going to do our best to stop the run. I mean, they didn't do that very well, but
better than what they normally do.
Absolutely, far better than what they normally do. And they figured that they'd shut down, many of Mahomes' options. Now, Kelsey got his. He, for a guy with a bum ankle, had a monster game. But it really wasn't until late in the game that any of the other wide receivers did almost anything. So they stepped up in the red zone. The execution in the red zone for the Chiefs could have been better. But, I mean, listen, the story of the Chiefs this season and the reason why I'm maybe as excited about what's to come, I think the offense will continue to improve. I wouldn't be surprised if they added a receiver or two by a trade. But the Chiefs defense, Pat, is, I mean, listen, it all starts with Pat Mahomes. But, I mean, if you're looking at reasons why this team can once again represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, it's the defense right now that has come out of the gate playing at a really high level and continues to improve. And I mean, Russ, they did have that one drive late in the game to actually get on the board. Wasn't there a cool bet prop, Chiefs to win and a shutout at like 22-1? Oh man,
blank space.
That one, the blank space. Nicely done. But listen, this they've got the defense, and listen, if you want to talk about the schedule, we'll see what happens. I mean, the Chargers always play the Chiefs really tough. They're playing next week. Although I will say this, speaking of the schedule, pretty nice scheduling with the Chiefs playing Thursday and the Chargers playing on Monday night, and then those teams playing. I know my pal Jeff Feinberg, a big Chargers guy, irate at the NFL scheduling, giving the Chiefs 3 extra days rest. But, I mean, this team's pretty good. Bottom line is those are games they usually just win. They often don't cover. But shout out to our guy, Harrison Butker, who made you some money and made a lot of Chiefs bettors some money with that big 52-yarder late to get to 11 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, Dusty and I talked about it, on the Nielsen show this morning, and he brought that question up, and I said, I don't think you can call them frauds, but definitely some question marks. But you kind of answered those question marks, and Yes. Is the offense as electric and dynamic as we've seen in years past? No, but I put out the question to him and said that maybe we don't see the best statistical season out of Patrick Mahomes this year, but this might be his most impactful season that we've ever seen. If he can allow this team to finish with a division win, finish with home field advantage heading into the postseason, maybe not the first seed, but even the second seed, like this could go down as his most impressive season. This could go down as Andy Reid's most impressive season because the offense hasn't been there. It's not automatic. It has been coming harder. And yes, look at the Kansas City Chiefs defense. They're giving up 284 points yards per game. They're only which I think is fifth, and they're only giving up 14.7 points per game. Only the San Francisco 49ers have given up less per game. This is a legit team. This is a good team defensively. So I think if you could argue maybe this team is better built for the postseason, but I also said that, you know, if you're going up against the Buffalo Bills, if you're going up against the Miami Dolphins, and we'll get a preview of that in Germany, I do think they got to go out and get another offensive weapon. I think they have to figure something out, get a receiver, find a way to add more tools for Mahomes, because if Kelsey does go down, if he doesn't recover from this injury, although he looked fine yesterday, I think to go back on top and win a Super Bowl, they're going to need a little more. But their defense certainly has proven that they're going to be the ones, I think, that are going to be the backbone this year. And if Mahomes and this offense can just do enough, you know, at the end of the season, maybe they're playing for Lombardi in the Super Bowl.
Hey, Jake, is the new best rivalry in the NFL Al Michaels versus the Thursday Night Football producers that want to keep putting Taylor Swift on the screen every time Kelsey does anything?
Just fighting for screen time. Al Michaels probably wants more screen time for himself. That's probably why he's upset. He's a little upset. He doesn't want it to all be about Taylor. But I mean, listen, it's one of the biggest stories in the sport right now, and obviously the NFL is going to lean into it, whether it's a Thursday night crew or it's a Sunday crew or it's a Monday crew. I mean, she was dancing with Brittany Mahomes yesterday, and they got it all going right now. And the one thing I was going to say, when we're talking about the Chiefs, and obviously they're a great team, and having a quarterback like Mahomes has a lot to do with that. But the nice thing about being a good team is you don't have to play your best football in September and October, right? I mean, you're playing for the playoffs, right? So it's just a matter of, and I think Pat mentioned this yesterday. You think about some of those Patriots teams where Brady didn't necessarily have the top weapons across, at the receiver position, obviously Gronk at tight end and stuff like that. But, sometimes it just comes down to the defense giving you what you need, and Mahomes going out and doing his thing. And, a win's a win. You're not going to apologize, for winning football games. And I mean, you guys covered the spread last night too. The odds makers set at 10.5, and, they found a way. So,
yeah, more often than not, I've been on the other side of those. And listen, just on that point, Nick Wright, who is one of my faves and a guy that, worked in KC for a long time, has sort of put a flag in with Mahomes in year one and has stuck with it. Had a couple beautiful tweets last night. He said, listen, the Chiefs are using some of these games as televised practices. And he said, you thought I was kidding about the Chiefs using these games as televised practices? Now that you've seen them have a designed tight end to tight end lateral in the opening script and a ludicrous brotherly shove against the field goal defense with the kicker just chilling, do you kind of believe me? And then he followed up with, and now the old hand off to the up back into a modified flea flicker with your wide receiver 3 throwing deep to your RB3. Andy Reid's having a little bit of fun right now. Just happy that they actually covered the spread. Hey, listen, before we get into these picks, guys, I'm going to tee you up for each of you with a couple of your favorite picks against the spread. Then I'll get into Dusty and my picks. But I want to give a shout out to everybody in chat. What is up, fellas? And a special nod to Christopher Morris, who came in early with some heat. And we always welcome educated picks from other sports that maybe we are not paying very close attention to. And it is the CPL playoffs right now. And I'm just going to read this out to you folks that are listening on the Edmonton Sports Talk live stream. But I'm just going to ride this through because this is some great stuff. And Christopher, I am going to ride with you on this.
I've already locked it in.
I didn't see this, but I'm getting on too.
But for my fellow D-gens who don't mind a little risk, how about Wanderers plus 180 on Saturday? Here we go. Pacific is traveling 4,700 kilometers to Halifax to play in the CPL 3 versus 4 playoff matchup just 62 hours after beating York and Langley 1-0. They also ended the season dropping 3 straight. Halifax is a well-rested side, having not played since the 6th. Teams match up evenly typically, but there's quite the advantage for the home side. I pulled it up right now. The Wanderers to win in regulation are plus 180. Pacific is plus 155. The draw is plus 230. A little Halifax plus 180. Thanks to our pal Christopher. I think we can all get behind that. And then, maybe pay a little bit more attention to, by the way, the other game, Cavalry and Forge. Cavalry's your favorite at plus 150, Forge plus 190, and the draw, again, plus 230. But it's Friday. You know what that means. Best bets. We'll figure out a couple parlays as well. Pat, let's start with you. Give me one or two of your favorite picks against the spread this weekend.
Well, the one bet that I like the best, and now with some news coming out, it has changed. But I think I probably won't lock it in at this price because I've already got it at -5. But I'm not telling the lock shoppers to stay away. San Francisco 49ers -10 against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, don't get me wrong, elite defense, and I think this is going to be the toughest test that we've seen from the 49ers. Look what they did against the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are very, very overrated. I don't think they're as good as we thought they were at the start of the year. But with that being said, I still think they're a middle of the pack team. I think their defense is still in the upper third of the league. And the 49ers completely dismantled them. Yes, it's a bit of a jump up here for the Browns, but I know it shouldn't really matter because Deshaun Watson has been pretty poor. But Deshaun Watson is not playing in this game. It's probably going to be DT, or I should say expected not to play. DTR, the rookie. We saw what he was able to do, or not able to do, I should say, in his first start. So I'm going to ride with the 49ers. I really like them here. They're 4-1 against the spread. We haven't seen Brock Purdy lose a regular season game. They are 13-3 against the spread in their last 16 games dating to last year. They're 6-1 straight up on the road. So going into Cleveland doesn't really bother me. I really think that this is a flex your muscles type of game for the 49ers. So I got them in at 5.5 at the start of the week. I'm going to say I would even lock it in at -10. I think this is a blowout for the 49ers. If it starts out slow and the Browns are keeping it tight at the start of the game, don't panic. Don't worry. I think this is a game where we could see a backdoor where it ends up being a 14 spread, but it might start out slow. I'm not going to tell you this is going to be a breeze. It's going to be a walk in the park, but I think the 49ers are going to walk away with a convincing victory against the Browns.
Jake, what about you? Where are you going? What's your fave this week?
We're getting to that time where, we got some bye weeks. It started last week, and I'm looking at teams that kind of need one this week, especially, with upcoming schedule. So I'm going to the Bengals -3. They got the Seahawks at home. They're heading into the bye off the Seahawks, and then after the bye, they're going to have the San Francisco 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. So, you got to get to at least 500 by the bye week after the slow start they've had. And Bengals have done this. They've started slow. And then if you can split that Niners-Bills game, you're 4-4 and you're right in the mix in the AFC North. So I think this is one the Bengals got to win. They're at home. Burrow, Chase, they've kind of figured it out last week. I know it was the Cards. I know it's not necessarily, cream of the crop when it comes to the top of the NFL. But, you've discussed the Cards on this show, Huss. They're feisty. They're a feisty team. That's just where I'm going. I'm just looking at the schedule. I'm looking at, a team that needs a win this week. And I think the Bengals take care of business at home against the Seahawks on Sunday.
Listen, before I get into mine, Dusty picks, I want to get you guys to hit on both of your teams. Unfortunately, Jake, that means you need to talk about the Patriots. The Pats right now, coming off 2 of their most miserable games in the Belichick era, are in Vegas. Raiders playing on a short week after a nice Monday night win against the Packers, laying 3 at home. I can't imagine there's been anything that would give many people positivity about where the Patriots are, except for the fact that they are playing the Raiders. What do you think about this one on Sunday from a spread perspective for New England? Is there any hope that they can be in this game, cover the spread, or potentially even win?
I hope not. I mean, if you're gonna be bad, be really bad, right? Like there's good quarterbacks coming up in this draft, and we don't have one right now. So I actually, I'm just going to preface this by saying I got exclusive together for this weekend already online. It's called Williams Watch. So it's the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Rams, and the Bills all to win. They're all playing teams with either an 0-5 record or a 1-4 record. So we have an eye on Caleb Williams. We have an eye on Drake May. I hope they lose. Just keep losing big. It makes no difference to me. I want to be at the top of the draft. I do not want to be in the middle of the pack. It gets you nowhere really in the NFL. So
what's the number on that on the Williams Watch exclusive?
Williams Watch is, sorry, I have it up here. I believe it's plus 190, boosted from like 166, I believe.
Right on.
So.
Pat, your Bills are 14.5-point favorites against the Giants. We know the Giants have been brutal this year. They cannot block for Daniel Dimes. But, man, 14.5 is a big, big number. Do the Bills romp, or do you have some trepidation as to backing the home team on that huge spread?
I mean, everyone knows on this program, if you listen and hear me talk about the Bills, I usually don't like betting either side. I don't like the emotional hedge because, well, if they don't end up covering and you end up feeling like you jinx them, or if you do bet on your team and they don't cover or don't win, then you feel like you jinx them. And maybe that's a little bit of dumb brain rolling in and my superstitions from my playing sports days, but that's just what it is. With that being said, the Giants could not look worse this year. The Giants, the team that Brian Daboll had playing at a supreme level last year, playing above what anyone could have expected. Daniel Dimes looking like, hey, maybe this guy's actually pretty good. Nothing even close. And now we're learning that Daniel Jones could be out for a while with a neck injury. And I'm not surprised because that offensive line is just putrid. Awful,
I'm amazed he lasted
terrible.
as long as he did.
It is remarkable. Shout out to their doctor, shout out to their athletic staff for keeping him alive and at this point. But with that being said, I'll take my Bills Mafia Zubas off, and you look at the Bills injury report, it is grim. That defense is so banged up, so injured. Some really, really good players out. Trey White out for the year. Matt Milano out for the year. Dawson Knox on the offense and Dalton Kincaid, both their tight ends, have both been limited all week long. Greg Rousseau limited at practice. Dane Jackson didn't even practice this week. The names go on and on and on. So will they cover the spread? I would be very reluctant, but at the same time, this Bills team under Sean McDermott, after a loss, especially like a disappointing loss against the Jags, there's a lot of pressure on this team right now saying them traveling so late in the week really set them back. They weren't prepared. They look tired, all those injuries. I think that this is a flex your muscles type of game, similar to what I said with the 49ers. I think Josh Allen and this offense are going to prove to the defense and say, listen, we know you guys are banged up. We're missing some key bodies. It's now our time to step up and really take over this team and show that we can score some big numbers like we did earlier on in the year. Because look on the other side, no Danny Dimes, it's Tyrod Taylor. God love Tyrod Taylor. He got us through some really tough years during the Buffalo Bills eras, just right before Josh Allen came in. But he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And yes, he's mobile. He's maybe a little more mobile than Daniel Jones is. But I just don't think in front of that O-line, you're setting a guy up who hasn't played a lot of NFL football in the last 3-4 years for success with that O-line. So no official play for me. Because of it's my team and because of the injuries. So I would say it's a stay away. Maybe look at that over 44.5.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with that line. I mean, 14.5 is just such a big one, but you kind of laid out many of the reasons. Although I think people are sort of forgetting about what the Bills are dealing with on the defensive side of the football, because everyone knows that they should and probably will win this game. It's a little difference when you're needing a team to, cover by 3 scores.
I forgot to I'll also mention it is, it's a big game for a magnitude of reasons. Obviously you want, if you're the Giants, it's like, okay, we're not dead type of game here, unless they're thinking like, okay, like Jake said, Williams watch, and Drake May is a fine quarterback too. Like, I think there's a lot of experts that think that Drake May actually might be a better NFL quarterback than Caleb Williams, but also Brian Daboll. So, big game for Brian Daboll. He was the offensive coordinator. Him and Josh Allen apparently still FaceTime like a few times a month and then chat.
I miss you, Josh.
Well, have you seen the way Ken Dorsey runs this offense? If I was Josh Allen, I'd be calling him up. The best case scenario is the Giants to absolutely fall on their faces, and the Giants say, "Okay, Daboll, not the guy." And then there's Josh Allen, open hands, welcome back as the offensive corner. I don't think that's happening. I think he's a really good coach, and the Giants would be crazy to blame this season on him, considering what they've dealt with injuries and, of course, that offensive line being putrid.
All right, so let's get to the best bets. And Dusty, I know he's listening. He's fired me his picks. Let's start off with his couple that I expected to see on the card. He continues to ride with these teams, and they've been really good to him so far. And Dusty's never been shy to lay the points on a big number, and he's going to do it again this week. He's laying the 13.5 with the Miami Dolphins. Good thing he got in at that point. It's actually now 14 against the Carolina Panthers. This is a number that I can't stomach, although if there was a team that I was going to lay it with, it's probably Miami playing at home. I mean, their offense has been, just otherworldly right now. It kind of reminds me of the Chiefs' offense at the height of their powers earlier. Chiefs are a much more well-rounded team right now, but they certainly don't have the weapons or the momentum that the Miami offense has. And then again, Carolina is a work in progress, I think. Funny thing about the Williams watch with Carolina is they want no part of this. That's one team that has no motivation whatsoever to lose football games, because the Chicago Bears have their pick. They traded up. They used their pick on their quarterback in the future. So Bryce Young is the guy. I guess we'll see whether Frank Reich can, get this team looking a little more competitive as we go through the season. But they got a very, very tough out this week. As they say, he locked this one in at 13.5. If you want to get it right now, the line has moved as we do this live Friday afternoon to 14. No surprise that the Lions are on his card at -3. And just quickly, is this strange that we're not seeing it get to 3.5? It's been pretty solid at 3 all week long. I would imagine the majority of the money coming in is on Detroit with the momentum that they've got right now. Tampa is coming off the bye, playing at home at +3. But I'll be honest, I kind of thought that this line might be a little bit higher. And again, maybe this is just for me and my propensity for picking home dogs, but this just seems a little weird that we're just having 3 points with the steam that the Lions have right now. Jake, what are your thoughts on the Lions, and particularly this matchup against Tampa, in Tampa, with the home team getting 3 points as the dog?
Yeah, I got duped the last time the Lions, went to Lambeau not long ago and really put it on the Packers. And I think I was on the Packers side of that one and was not happy. So I have a hard time falling for the same mistake twice. I think you're probably right here. It seems like, it is a little fishy of a line with the Lions being only 3-point favorites. They seem like, you look at the Lions, you look at the Bucks, and they seem like the better team really all around, right? So you just wonder, like, why are they only 3 points better than the Bucks? I mean, we're talking about, if it's neutral, then we're saying, it's like a 6-point spread. Is that what they usually say, Huss? You get, 3 at home. So maybe it's right. Like, maybe it makes sense if you put it in that light. But I don't know. It's an interesting one. It feels like a stay away for me, but seems like Patty's got something here on this one too.
This was like my 1A, 1B with my two best bets. The other one I went obviously with already. I love this game. Detroit's 13-2 against the spread in their last 15 games. They've been covering for a long time. I think this team's legit, and I honestly think that the Bucks are kind of playing above their level, and I don't understand this line. That's the only thing that does scare me. It is fishy. You talk about you thinking money is coming in on the Lions. Well, it absolutely is. 99% of the tickets and the money right now at CoolBet is on Lions minus 3. So I have no idea why that line hasn't moved. I don't know why it hasn't changed at all. But with that being said, I'm eating the cheese, fellas. I'm eating the cheese, and I'm taking the Lions minus 3.
That was all I needed to know. I think I'm not going to make it part of my picks, but I'm taking Tampa just on principle. When was the last time that 99% of the money went in and the house didn't win?
Hey.
I was necessarily freaked out by that number, and you just may have put me over the edge. That being said, if you're back in the Lions, you can still get it right now at -3. Dusty's there at -3. A game you already talked about, and I will get to a little later on. The San Francisco 49ers, he's got that locked in at 9.5. And this is the one that I do like, and I think that we may have to throw this one on the partner parlay. He locked in the Colts at +4.5. The Colts right now, if you want 4.5, it's -118, which is sort of within our window of -120 or others for picks on that. I think that I'm going to probably lean on that one too as well. The 4 is at -110. This is one of the cases, though. I think there's some value in moving it from 4 to 4.5 at -118. We're not talking about a big chunk. And, as far as what it's going to change your wager and your return. And I think that 4 is definitely an area where I could see this game falling in. So I think Dustin made a great play in moving, or whether it was, I'm not sure whether he moved it or whether he was just picking it at the time. As of right now, it's -118, but he's got the Colts +4.5. So again, Dusty's picks: Dolphins -13.5, Lions -3, Niners -9.5, and the Indianapolis Colts +4.5. And I may as well start my picks with I'm with him on one, and I'm head-to-head with him on another. The one that I'm with him on is the Indianapolis Colts. Listen, you guys know that I'm a big Minshew guy. I'm not sure that this team listen, Richardson is awesome. He's going to be a dynamic player in this league for a long time if he can stay healthy. It is a little concerning how many times he's been knocked out of the lineup so far early in this season. But Minshew is such a gamer, probably one of the only, and I mean, listen, I'm trying to think of another guy that comes to mind right now, backup quarterback in the league that you can put in and really not miss a beat at all. I argue at times, with the way that he's played at times this year, they might even be more effective. The Colts now have Jonathan Taylor back. And listen, I'm still pissed off. I took Zach Moss out of my lineup last week in fantasy thinking that he wouldn't be getting as many touches right now. What does he do? Shows everyone maybe we didn't need this guy all along and goes for like 35 fantasy points. They got an amazing backfield right now. I think the competition between these two is going to bring out the best in both of them. Yeah, Taylor's got his money, but he still is going to want to be the guy in that backfield. And if you can run the football with those guys, I think that allows Gardner Minshew, a real opportunity to make things happen. I could see them winning this game outright. I love the +4.5 in this one. And here's the other thing. Speaking of scheduling, the Jags just spent 2 freaking weeks in London. They don't have a bye this week. I'm stunned that they're playing again at home, coming right back after those 2 London games. So I do like the spot for the Colts. And as I say, right now, it's -118 at 4.5. I do really like the 4.5 better than the 4 because I wouldn't at all be surprised if this game ends on a push in and around. We know how good the odds makers are to begin with. This really feels like a game that kind of finishes within that 3 to 4 number if Jacksonville does get it in. So I'm in on the Colts. But just going into the lock shop today, I was finishing up the picks. I was going to make this pick anyways. I got in at a quick movement, and I'm actually taking the Cleveland Browns at plus 10. Here's a couple things on this game. I know Deshaun Watson isn't playing right now. Former XFL star PJ Walker getting the start for the Browns. And let me tell you this.
Oh, so it's not even DTR, it's Walker. Okay.
Yeah. They're Adam Schefter 1 hour ago. Browns ruled out Deshaun Watson for Sunday's game. PJ Walker will now start with the 49ers. Listen, I don't think this is not a bet. Please don't misview this. Like, we've been waiting for
PJ
legacy Walker to finally get a start, and he's the man right now. But two things on this. Browns defense, absolutely legit. Niners, of course, coming off a big win, a humiliation, really, of the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, and now traveling out east to play in what is apparently going to be some brutal, brutal conditions.
Yeah.
Like very, very windy, potentially rainy. This is not the best conditions for that Niner offense, I think, to operate through the air quite as much. And I'll tell you what, I mean, outside of the San Francisco defense, they're going up against arguably the best defense in the National Football League. I could just see this game being close. I mean, the Niners, will they win this game? Almost assuredly they will. But I think this could be a slog. The total for this game is only 36. And I think I might take the under for that, to be honest with you. This probably isn't going to be a very fun game to watch, but I do think that Cleveland, and this is, again, I mean, I realize why everyone is on San Francisco right now. They're the best team in the league. I don't think there's really much of a question right now. Every power poll starts with San Francisco. But, I mean, they're not going to blow out teams by 20 or 30 every single week this season. And this probably, as far as for a challenge for their offense, might be the toughest spot they've been all year long. You add in the conditions around it, I think this game is going to be closer than people expect. You're going to give me double digits on the home team. I am taking it. I got Cleveland plus 10 for my second pick. Now, I've got 3 games.
Huss, just one second, because I just noticed this as you were discussing. So clearly the WSTers or the lock shoppers like what you're saying, because now the line is dropped down to 9.5. You plus 9.5 is at minus 111. If you want to stick with that 10, it's minus 119.
All right, so there you go. We're literally moving lines live on the lock shop, as we say.
You know what it reminds me of, and I'll just jump in here quick. It reminds me of that game. I think it was week 1 last year. The Bears played. I think it was the Niners, and it was like, from the conditions you're telling me about, I think it ended up like a 10-6 game for the Bears, and it was just super ugly, and like no team really got anything going. I mean, from what you're saying, Huss, assuming it's all true, then yeah, I mean, it could end up being one of those tight games. It feels like another one I need to stay away from, especially, I don't want to be in between either one of you two. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a stay away for me. It's hard to bet against that San Fran team because they can really do it all over.
Listen, I think that's what's happening right now. I think people are just blindly. They saw what they did to Dallas. Oh, Cleveland, whatever. It's just Cleveland. And just are blindly betting them at whatever the number is right now. And as I say, I see some, like, we probably won't be throwing the Browns on any partner parlays or anything like that. But for one of my 4 picks, I am going with Cleveland. As I say, at the start of the show, I locked it in at 10, paying a little bit more, minus 119 if you want to get that half point, or you can get minus 111 at plus 9.5. You know what? I will lay some points. And here's another interesting game where, the half point you can move without too much of a it doesn't change it too much. And I'm going to this Eagles-Jets game. And again, I've sort of been one that's always on the home dogs. I'm not going to be on them this time. I'm running with the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. To me, the Eagles, listen, they have just been okay so far this year the very, very high bar that they have set. And I think the Jets are coming off a pretty big time emotional win for that team. But I'm not expecting a lot from this Jets offense going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles are a team that I think they find a way to score against just about everybody that they play. I still have a ton of respect for this Jets defense. But I kind of think that they get up in this game, and it just makes it really, really difficult for the Jets to come back. They don't have that offensive catalyst at quarterback right now, even though Zach Wilson's looked a little bit better over the last couple. As I say, the number right now, if you look at it, is 7, and it's minus 108 for the Eagles. So I'll lock it in at 7, but minus 116 at 6.5. Again, against a defense like the Jets, like I don't think that they win by 20 points in this game. So govern yourselves accordingly. Oh, it's actually down to minus 116 right now. It's 6.5. So to be honest with you, as opposed to minus 108 at 7, I like minus 116 and the 6.5 more because I could see this one ending on 7. And much like we talked about that Colts game earlier on, I think it's worthwhile giving yourself a win opportunity on that number as opposed to a push. I thought long about the Minnesota Vikings in this game, and maybe I'll put that in on a ride with Huss. The number right now is minus 3 for Minnesota, minus 105. And this is an interesting exercise, folks. If you're screwing around on the CoolBet site a little bit, look and see the difference when you're buying that half point. Like we were just talking about that Eagles game, really not too much. You're going from minus 108 to minus 116. If you want to get the Vikings at minus 2.5, it goes from minus 105 all the way to minus 122. This is probably going to be a close game as it usually is. Justin Jefferson is out looking for a big game from Jordan Addison, although he hasn't been a full participant in practice. To me, though, the Vikings are a team that they're just better than the Chicago Bears. This is a tough spot for them, but they have to win this game. They're going to lose to San Francisco next week. They're going to get, if they win this game, they're going to be 2-5, and then their schedule completely opens up. This is a must win for Minnesota. If they lose this game, who knows? Maybe Kirk Cousins get traded. I think I do like Minnesota, but that's not going to be my pick. I'm going to take another underdog in this one, and it's the Arizona Cardinals going up against the LA Rams. Listen, the Rams have been great so far this year, and Cooper Kupp back makes a big, big difference. But I think the Cardinals are really, really undervalued in this spot. These are divisional. This is a divisional game. These teams have played each other very, very tough in the past. I know, listen, it's new coaching, new quarterback. But the Cardinals, despite the way they got spanked by the Bengals in that last game, to me, that was just Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase taking over and reminding everyone that there's some of the most elite players in the league. I like Josh Dobbs and the Cardinals to be in this game to keep this one tight. I'm going to take the 7 points with the Cardinals. So here are my picks. We've got the Colts plus 4.5, Cleveland in at plus 10, Philly minus 7, and Arizona plus 7 for the best bets. So listen, starting off the partner parlay, Dusty and I both like Indianapolis, so I think we roll with that one as more of the consensus pick at plus 4.5.
Yeah, I had Colts on my card too. Just I think that was one for sure.
Excellent. Considering we're head to head on this Niner game, I wouldn't mind maybe keeping that one off. And I do think it's a dangerous one as well to throw on. The other game that I stayed away from that's a real interesting one is the Commanders and the Falcons. I'm a sucker for the Commanders, but Atlanta plays all these really tight games. They're winning by 1, they're losing by 2, back and forth. We got burned. But Dusty did put in that he doesn't mind the Houston Texans. I was thinking about the Texans as well, potentially even on a money line bet at plus 106. But when you look at how close their games have been, I think there's some value at plus 1.5 if we're going to take them at home against the Saints. I don't mind that one at all. Interested in your guys' thoughts on that. And then what else should we throw out for the partner parlay?
Well, Dusty and I both like the Lions. So, I mean, if you guys are good with the Lions, we could either buy it down to minus 2.5. We could go, we could get it to, if we wanted to, we could just go straight money line at minus 159. I know you said you like the Bucks, just solely based on.
Like the Bucks because of everything that we've said right now. I've seen this happen too many times before. My spidey sense are tingling. However, I mean, you guys are on it. We are partners. We are putting this one together. So I do think that if you guys want to go with Detroit, let's do it. And minus 123 at -2.5. I could certainly see this game being somewhat close.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to say this because, again, everyone always assumes, like if the public, and usually it does, if the public's hammering it 9 times out of 10, it looks like Vegas is coming home laughing. But this year, according to John Ewing, who's a great follow if you like betting trends and different things, last week after last week's action, NFL teams getting 50% of bets are 44, 27, and 3. That's 62% against the spread this season. It is the best start for the public through week 5 since at least 2005 per Bet Labs. So this year, you folks at home are doing quite well against the book. With that being said, water finds its level. Is that this week? Is that this game? Who knows? Just a couple of those games that we talked about, really heavy public games. The 49ers obviously being one. The Lions. I like the Lions. I'm okay with 2.5. I think that's great. I would have no problem throwing that one there.
We got to put it on a 0.5 one way or the other for the partner parlay. So I think in the past, you guys have always been nice with a little bit of a boost. So as opposed to putting it to 3.5 and losing if it's a 3-point game,
right? Let's
put Detroit in at -2.5. So we've got Detroit at -2.5. We've got Indy at +4.5. Do we like Houston? Do we want to stay away from that game? That is sort of a tough one. And certainly I know, Jake, I don't know whether you were able to watch that entire Saints-Patriots game. I didn't see it, but I saw the score, and it looked like New Orleans was looking pretty good. That's a weird team, though. I don't entirely trust them very much. Sometimes they look great, sometimes not so much. And I guess, I will throw it if you guys like the Vikings at -2.5. We could put that one in there if you want to go against it, or road team divisional matchup without Justin Jefferson. Is that maybe one that we want to stay away from?
Well, I think you're right in terms of this being all or nothing for the Vikings. I think that after last week, though, and they probably are feeling that like they deserved a better fate. Obviously, the quote unquote missed call, whatever it is, what it is. They battled with the Chiefs. Like, I think they're still a good team. I think that they're a team, like we talked about the Giants, that won a lot of close games. They're not able to find a way to win close games. This is their time now to win a close game. Yeah, you know what? The Bears have looked really good over the last couple of weeks, but their secondary is absolutely putrid. And even without Justin Jefferson, I think that Kirk Cousins has enough weapons around him to expose that against the Bears. So I'm okay with riding with the Vikings. I think that this is a prove it game. It's like, if they lose here, I agree. I could see maybe we could see Kirk Cousins waiving his no trade and going to a contender.
Well, here's the other option, and I don't mind this. Jake's pick of Cincinnati. If we take that to 2.5, it's at -118. And I'll say this is another, and whatever, take this for what it's worth. Seattle historically has been brutal off the bye. So they're going in. To me, I kind of like what you were saying, Jake, earlier about Cincinnati. They don't have that wiggle room to kind of have any off days. And I know that, Seattle's looked pretty good so far this season and the Bengals haven't. But coming home after that get right game, they need to build off this one. I would be happy with putting the putting the Bengals on the card if we wanted to go Indy, Detroit, and Cincinnati as opposed to either Houston or Minnesota.
Yeah, I was going to push one more time for the Bengals. I really like it this week. That's why, I kind of broke it down. And, we get that extra half point. We know we're going to get the boost with the partner parlay. I know we talked about, maybe even making it 4 picks since there's 4 of us, but if we want to roll with those 3, I'm easy. So
I think we have enough synergy in between the 4 of us that we're on a lot of the same. So I think a 3-gamer is probably our best bet here. I will say, I'm just going to say this. I was leaning more Seahawks, but Jake, you bring up a lot of great points. And also the Bengals are Bengals are a team that I think maybe I have a future on them. So like I kind of held them to a higher standard. So I'm kind of like pissed off at them for not being better this year. So my view on them is a little skewed. So I'll stay away. You make some great points. Hungry dog runs faster. They need to win. They're entering a meat wagon, just an absolute meat grinder of a part of their schedule. They have no choice but to win this football game. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I think, Jake. They have to win this game. They absolutely
100%.
have to win this game. So I'm okay with putting that aside. I will stay away. I won't bet that Seahawks bet, and I'll ride with you guys and put the Bengals on here. I think you guys have changed my mind.
So here we go. So partner parlay, we've got the Colts plus 4.5. We've got the Lions minus 2.5 and Cincinnati minus 2.5. We've kind of got a couple half points in here. It's plus 519 in the computer. So we'll probably get it in excess of plus 550. Looking for that. Find that in the Cool Bet exclusives. And coming off a successful ride with Huss last week, I feel like I owe it to the people to try to go back to back. And I'm going to do, again, kind of similar to what we're doing, kind of picking away at a couple of half points on games that we do like. I will put the Vikings in on this one. And so we're going to take Vikings minus 2.5. We will take Arizona plus 7.5. And I'm putting Cleveland on it. A lot of people might be scared by it, but I do like Cleveland. We'll take that to 10.5. So, we're getting an extra point. That one is plus 496 in the computer. We'll when we put it in on the site, so we'll get it up to in excess of plus 500 over there. So again, Indy, Detroit, Cincy, plus 519. We'll see what it ends up in the exclusives, and then Cleveland plus 10.5, Arizona plus 7.5, Vikings minus 2.5. That is going to be the ride with us, guys. I could do this for another hour with you. But we got Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up in about 5 minutes. Folks that are watching on EST, if want to hang with us, come on over to Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll be getting going with WST in about 7 minutes or so. Fellas, we'll talk to you in the group chat, and we'll tweet out when those exclusives are up. But I imagine it won't be long. Get on them early before we all bet them down and the lines move. Good luck with the pick this weekend, fellas. Have a good one.
Thanks, Huss. You too.
Thanks, Huss. It's a lot of fun.
You got it. Thanks for hanging with us in the lock shop. Shout out to Dusty. Drive safe. Enjoy those games. Great CFL action this weekend that he'll be calling in Calgary tonight and Edmonton tomorrow. And, of course, a big Sunday of NFL football. And hockey's back. Our first full Saturday slate. We'll be checking that out as well. Folks, for Jake Bolin Moss, for Pat Gregoire, a very busy Dustin Nielsen, I'm Andrew Patterson, Hustler. Thanks for being in the lock shop. We'll see you on Monday. Good luck with the wagers this weekend.
And that was the lock shop with Huss, Pat, and Jake. No Dustin Nielsen, as Huss was mentioning. They're driving down to Calgary. So Matawanek now, Lieutenant. This is usually Fantasy Football 5 for Century Casino. I have nothing. I'm actually taking on Dusty in fantasy this weekend.
You feeling good?
I should beat him. If I don't beat him, it's kind of embarrassing because he just doesn't have that team like I do this season. Like
you drafted strong.
His team has had some poor luck to start this season. I will say that. Like, he hasn't had his records maybe worse than it should be. But I take on him this way. I should pull up my.
Well, we've had this in our CFL league too. Sometimes sometimes it's bad scheduling. Not for anybody scheduling you, but that's just how the chips fall.
Let's see what the projections are from CBS Sports. I was projected 97 to 83 this week. I should beat him. He didn't have anyone going yesterday. I didn't have anyone going yesterday. And then one thing that's great about the CBS thing is there's a thing called a breakdown, which kind of breaks it like what you would have done against everyone else. Mm-hmm. He's actually one of the lower teams.
For the week against
overall.
Overall.
Like, there's a thing called breakdown, which kind of takes your points and matches it up against every other team each given week and what your record would have been if you played anyone else, and then it gives you a ranking. And I'm the 4th best in the league, and he's bottom 5 of 16.
It's funny we haven't heard any of this so far on the Nielsen show. Like, he
talks a lot in this big game.
Well, he's in 500 fantasy leagues, right? He's constantly betting on anything and everything. Yet we can't get this little nugget of information, which I think is pretty important here. Like
he's bottom 4 when it comes to points scored in our league of 16. I'm 3rd. He's bottom 4.
Spending too much time on his CFL league, I guess. Hey, that'd be the thing
just
here. I don't know,
building
too much
this
to do.
Team
well,
that is the best CFL fantasy team ever.
I just find it funny we haven't heard any of this yet. And here you are, and you guys are taking each other on this week. I would expect a victory lap and a half from you on Monday.
I'm just gonna say if they win, if I win, I should say
going into it.
If my team wins, yeah, it's gonna be brought up on Monday.
And I'd also like you to share this information with the Nielsen show come Monday as well. If you're hearing this now, I mean, good for you, but
you get points. So if you get 16 points, it means you're the best. He only has 5 points in the breakdown, 3.5 for points.
I mean, these are numbers that he would carve people up with.
He'd be ripping you.
And just all over you. This is a shame to his household. He should bow out of the league at this point. If you've got too many players. Well, something.
Just give me the players that you have.
You know, it's a Edmonton sports talk thing. Maybe kind of help you out along the way.
Oil Stream coming up very shortly here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola was down at the rink. I see he's connected, so we'll connect with him right away. And that's just we're about 3 or 4 minutes away from that.
Leon quote?
I did. Let's pull this up quickly. Before I get to that, I just want to mention, because the Fantasy Football 5, which we're on right now, it is brought to you by Century Sports Bar and Lounge.
Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, Century Casino Fort Road, where every day is game day.
How was it last night?
Beautiful.
Did you have the cheesesteak again?
I absolutely did. It's $9.99, one of the greatest deals in town for food, and you get a little bit off on your beer or highball if you so choose. But they're flying out of there again last night. It was great. Cheese, peppers, onions. You get the choice of side. They also gave me, I got a side of gravy plus the au jus dipping. Magnificent. Fergie's prostate was out. A whole gang, a crew of people. Congratulations again to Matt for taking home the Patrick Mahomes jersey. You could get a jersey. It's a free square board. Come down, write your name on a square, and you could win a jersey. That's
I need to try their pizza. Because when I was there last Thursday, somebody walked by with it, and honestly, their daily specials, when they tweet out their prices, I go, how?
It's pretty. It's
as you guys would say on the morning show, in this economy.
Hey, and that it's a true special.
This economy,
well, it's a true special when you're actually saving money on this stuff. And the pizzas are great too. Pizza's kind of my Monday go-to. But
before I get to the Leon quote, Dustin has texted me. Do I read it or do I just leave it?
Well, I think you can do whatever you want here.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we rehash this on Monday.
Wants
now he wants to get in.
Now he wants to talk about this team.
Grab a line, Dusty.
Now he wants to bring it up. Oh, go enjoy your time driving your quote-unquote good friend Suits back up to Edmonton tonight. Leon's quote that we'll get to with Tom.
But what's he going to argue? You read off the numbers.
These are just numbers.
They're stats. They're facts.
That's all it was.
This is an opinion-based.
I was just giving you the numbers. Leon's quote, which we'll get to in the Oil Stream quote, sometimes it's good to get smacked a little. That's
like you
Leon
just smacked Dusty.
Loss in Vancouver.
Yeah, and you just smacked Dusty. It's good, Dusty, to get smacked. Now maybe he'll put more care and attention. I mean, the fact that he drafted this team and it's that low. Yeah. Like, this isn't even.
He was such a great drafter in the CFL league. Where was that in this league, Dusty?
I never knew. This is a side that I don't. we all see Dusty as this bronze god.
I better win this week.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to have to deal with this on Monday.
Would be tough, yeah.
Fantasy Football 5 for Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge.
He's the winner.
Lieutenant Eric Matawanek with you. When we come back after a very short pause, I'll connect Tom Gazzola, and then we'll have the Oil Stream. We'll keep you updated with everything that happened at the Oilers practice that they had just down at the community rink in advance of their game tomorrow. And thanks to Huss and all the boys from Coolbet for controlling and locking down the lock shop for today. On behalf of them, Lieutenant Eric, I'm Matawanek. I will talk to you in mere minutes on the Oil Stream.